believe that's Mr. Gilmour?
I believe you're right.
The following material may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Broadcasting live from the cultural void of Independence, Ohio. Phone number 578-1100 in the classic 216 area code. Or toll free, 888-723-WTAM.
1100.
Well, what I'd like to discuss this evening is Johnny Cash. I've heard many tribute programs to Johnny Cash over the past couple of days. None of them I thought were really done right. And it's not all that difficult to come up with a biography of Johnny Cash. And there's some songs that you've heard of, and there's some songs that I may have that you may not have heard of. And you will hear them tonight. I remember where I was sitting. I was in my living room listening to the radio, and I think it was Case Western's college station. The guy played a Johnny Cash song, and then he said, yep, Johnny Cash is dead. And I thought, oh, yeah, real funny kid, you know. And so I started checking into it, and it turns out that Johnny Cash had passed away. Complications of diabetes, 71 years old. And I sat there and cried. And I thought, why should I? Why would it affect me? Well, it affects you because in the same breath, I heard the same day that John Ritter died. Well, sorry to hear about that, but Johnny Cash seemed to more deeply affect me. And I remember when I was a kid, the first record I bought was Meet the Monkees. I believe it was on Coal Gems Records, and I still have it. And the second one I bought was Johnny Cash, live at Folsom Prison. Our cyber vote at WTAM.com. What was your favorite Johnny Cash song? 26% of you say Ring of Fire. 21% say I Walk the Line. Followed by Boy Named Sue, Ghost Riders in the Sky, Folsom Prison Blues, Hurt Other. And then 11% of you say you hated Johnny Cash. How could you hate Johnny Cash? 4 words that resonated throughout the world as much as In God We Trust were, hello, I'm Johnny Cash. That introduction was never more necessary than telling someone the name of the Mona Lisa when viewing the painting. Johnny Cash has been a household name for decades. Nearly 5 decades his career spanned. Many people described him as mythical, larger than life. Others described him as one of the greatest recording artists of all time. Let's listen to a little Folsom Prison Blues. From a very early age, you learn to relate to more, I think, to musicians than you do to actors and that sort of thing. You can relate to areas in your life, things you did, or when you were sad or blue or happy, or you can recall listening to music. It certainly affected me a lot more to hear the death of Johnny Cash than it did to hear about the death of Frank Sinatra. I guess I expected that, but I guess when you saw Johnny at his wife's funeral, I didn't think that he was going to outlive her, and he probably didn't either. He wasn't well. He had a neurological disorder, had diabetes, and to see him sit there at that funeral, he just looked like he was done. You know what I mean? Looked like he gave up. Looked like, well, that's it. Looked like the best thing in his life had left him, and there's no one description adequately to describe the Man in Black. He was complex, unpredictable, a ball of talent and energy that no one's ever been able to pigeonhole or categorize. His legacy will live on forever. His music, integrity, and his deeds will survive time itself. His contributions to mankind are immeasurable. A man loved by millions all over the world, he will be deeply missed. And there were some facts about Johnny Cash I wasn't aware of either. Recorded more than 1,500 songs on more than 500 albums, found on about 500 albums, counting only American and European releases. More of his albums, 45, remain in print today than most artists ever make. Yeah, Johnny was around for a long time. And Johnny'd been around. I remember, that's the worst part about trying to put together a tribute to Johnny Cash is that most of the music that I had, grew legs. Because I would lend it to people, and they liked it so much, and I'd forget who I lend it to, and they'd forget to give it back. So I've got some stuff. Larry, you're on the air.
Hey, Rick. Morning. Good evening, buddy.
Evening.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, I know, man. Sorry to hear about Johnny Cash. Yeah, I know how you feel, man. He was a true icon. The way you felt when you heard him die, you said you cried in that. That's why I felt when Dale Earnhardt died. Because he was a true icon. He was nobody. He built himself up. His music was true in that, I mean, he was an American icon,
He was a true original too, and just like people that are true originals, I think that's why they're so sorely missed. I know Frank Sinatra was a great performer, but I don't think he wrote many of his songs.
No.
And I think Johnny Cash wrote many of his songs.
I think one of the best songs I liked, my dad liked Johnny Cash, but I'll tell you what was the one he made about the Cadillac.
Oh, One Piece at a Time.
That was an awesome song.
And that I don't have unless WGAR has it. But One Piece at a Time.
That's a cool song.
Yeah, it was about him putting together a Cadillac because he could not afford to buy one, so he'd steal parts from work because he worked at GM, and then he'd bring home the parts. And
right.
I had a 55, 56, 57, 58 automobile. Yeah. See, it's interesting because there are people out there that aren't even huge country music fans, and I'm not a huge country music fan at all, yet I'm a fan of Johnny Cash.
I know.
He was a crossover. You know what I'm saying? He got an audience of people from all over.
Look, recently, he took that Nine Inch Nails song.
Hurt.
That Hurt, and redid it, and he got a Grammy for it.
Well, what was really sad was that he was up for MTV Music Video of the Year award, and I believe he lost out to Missy Elliott.
I know.
And, I mean, that was a great video, but I thought, geez, you'd think they'd give Johnny something, throw him a bone. Maybe he just hung on long enough to see if he was going to win that award and just gave up.
And the same thing he said, I couldn't believe that he'd outlive his wife.
No, and that video for Hurt, if anyone hasn't seen it, it's so sad because he says, in the words in the song, he's going to hurt everyone and he's going to leave them, and it shows a picture of his wife looking upset, like these are his dying words, and then she ends up going before him.
Another thing, too, is things like that, like a person like that, does something to you and to yourself, and you relate to it, and somewhere in your life, it reminds you of things, and it brings back to when you're a kid, and when you what was I doing when I heard this song, or did this, or heard that?
How's the influence on this? Folks remember Gary D?
Yeah.
Did you hear in that Folsom Prison Live? At one point, Johnny says, "Suey."
Yep.
One of Gary D's favorite sayings.
I remember listening to Gary D.
And I've got some stuff that Gary D used to play that you won't hear in many tributes, like Dirty Old Egg-Sucking Dog and Flushed from the Bathroom of Your Heart.
Hey, Gary D used to come, there's a bar right around the corner from my house, Rick, and he used to come there and drink and stuff like that.
Yeah, my favorite Gary D story, to get off the subject there, was that he was protesting something in the street one time, and the police showed up and said, all you people have to get off the street. You can't be out here. You're blocking traffic. So him and about 100 people, he said, come on in the bar. I'll buy you a drink.
So another thing about Gary D, a lot of people didn't know, is that he was a big remote control airplane man.
He took everybody in the bar and bought them all a drink.
Oh, yeah.
And then walked out the back door without paying.
Oh, yeah. I could tell when he was in the neighborhood, when he's at the freeway. It's not here no more. And a lot of people knew it. I mean, that bar was jam-packed.
Well, and appreciate the call, Larry.
Okay.
Thought you were going to say have a good one like you usually do. And I think that's the reason why people like Gary D related to somebody like Johnny Cash, and I think that's the reason why a lot of people related to Johnny Cash is because he's just a common man. I think prisoners related to him. He sang songs about the pokey. He sang songs about booze. He sang songs about being named Sue. He sang songs about city jails. He sang some songs about love and romance.
For a Johnny Cash song.
On their phone.
At WTAM.com.
If you
run, I'm gonna break.
Yeah, this is from American Recordings. Just some of the diversity of Johnny Cash to show that in his later years he was doing covers of other band stuff. Rick Rubin was the producer on these, and I know a guy who's, I guess, knows Rick personally and said he's not much of a fan of Rick. I don't know who's not a fan of Johnny Cash. Well, our cyber vote at WTAM.com. What's your favorite Johnny Cash song? Ring of Fire leads it with 26%, but 11% of you say none of them. I hated Johnny Cash. Well, then you'll hate this program, won't you? You won't hate this. Starting tomorrow morning, you got a chance to win $1 million. Bill Wills is going to have all the details on Wills and Coleman in the morning starting right here on News Radio WTAM 1100. Starts off at 5 a.m. John Cash, born on February 26, 1932 in Kingsland, Arkansas. His parents, Ray and Carrie Cash, were sharecroppers. Life was hard, especially during the Depression. Even at a young age, however, Johnny showed signs of musical talent, and he sang on a local radio station while still in high school. And I see someone called and wanted to hear 25 minutes to go. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get there. We got all evening. John enlisted in the Air Force shortly after graduation, served a tour of duty in Germany, working as a military cryptographer, decoding secret Soviet transmissions during the height of the Cold War. It was while in the Air Force that he wrote one of his first big hits that we heard earlier, Folsom Prison Blues. Yeah, I think that's the thing about Johnny Cash that he transcended was he seemed like a regular guy, right? The common man. He just wrote about things that... I wonder how many people are out there that... how many people are out there that have been in prison that are big Johnny Cash fans? Probably a bunch. Brian, you're on the air.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about a song Johnny Cash did, an excellent version of a Beck tune, Robo.
Yeah, I believe I have that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll play it for you later.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it was...
So much better.
You know, it's amazing because it's kind of a toss-up if you listen to the Nine Inch Nails Hurt. Yeah, the original's great, and Johnny's version's great, too. Yep. It's an amazing thing that this guy who was in his early 70s, late 60s, early 70s, was still working, he said, 8 to 10 hours a day in the studio recording stuff.
That voice didn't fail him, though.
Nope, absolutely not. All right, yep.
Great guy.
And his music. Marie, you're on the air.
Hello, Gilly?
Yes.
I wait all week for your program. I just love your show.
Oh, I appreciate it.
I never miss. And I thank you so very much for having this beautiful presentation of Johnny Cash. We all love him.
Well, I was a big fan, and I thought plenty of you were big fans, too, and you'd probably like to hear it.
Oh, we sure do appreciate it. Listen, do you have Grandfather's Clock?
Gee, I don't know if we have Grandfather's Clock. What year did that one come out? That one escapes me.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I'll have to look for it. I hadn't even heard of that one, but Johnny's got such a volume of work, you know.
I know it, but Grandfather's Clock is really the cat's whiskers.
Well, I'll try and give it a whirl, Marie. Thanks.
And I thank you so very much.
Oh, you're more than welcome there, darling. Greg, talk to me.
Hey, how you doing, Rick?
All right.
I love your show.
Thank you.
Just had a real quick story. I was an acquaintance of Gary T. Gilbert, and
Yes.
I gave him a album called Blood, Sweat, and Tears of Johnny Cash, something on it called The Ballad of John Henry, and he turned that into one of the funniest radio bits I ever thought.
Yeah, Johnny Cash got used, you know, and I'm not going to say that everything that Johnny did, there wasn't some schlock or hoke in there, but it was all talent.
It was a great American song, The Ballad of John Henry, and then the way that Gary did it with John Henry battling the Toyota steam drill. It was just funny. If you have that, I'd love to hear that, because that sort of walked off with Gary when he went to see Rapid Bio.
Yeah, well, I haven't heard it in a long, long time, and I imagine he had that in his personal collection.
I'm sure he did.
All right, well, I'll see what I can do.
Thank you very much, sir.
Well, you're more than welcome. And John, his Cash's follow-up single after Cry, Cry, Cry was Folsom Prison Blues, reached number 4 on the national charts. His third single, the now classic I Walk the Line, reached number 1 on the country charts and stayed there for 2 weeks. At this point in his career, Cash and his band were touring steadily. In 1958 alone, Cash had 6 top 10 hits on the country charts, 2 of them. Guess Things Happen That Way and The Ballad of a Teenage Queen made it all the way to number 1. Cash also began making TV appearances, including one on The Ed Sullivan Show. I wanted to play for you something I think is one of the more beautiful Johnny Cash songs. From Johnny Cash at San Quentin and Folsom Prison. He did this one with his wife, June Carter. It's called Jackson. In Liberto in 1954. They had 4 daughters. Kathy, Cindy, Tara, and one you may have heard of, Roseanne. Roseanne Cash became a respected singer-songwriter in her own right. Johnny took advantage of the GI Bill and enrolled in a school to study radio announcing. During that time, he met Luther Perkins and Marshall Grant. They became known as Johnny Cash and the Tennessee Two. Started receiving invitations to play around town and on the radio. None of them had suits, but they all had black shirts and black pants. That outfit would soon become a Cash trademark. By the early 1960s, Johnny Cash was exploring other musical genres, including gospel and folk. Appeared at the 1964 Newport Folk Festival, Cash met and performed with a young man named Bob Dylan. The two had worked together many times since and developed a very close friendship that remained until his death. By the mid-60s, Cash found that the stamina required for his constant touring and performing began to take its toll. He became addicted to pills, and his wife filed for divorce. Then, at the urging of June Carter, who was touring with him at the time, he sought treatment for his addictions. June, a member of the Carter family, one of the first families of country music, nursed him back to health. The couple was married in March of 1968 and soon had a son, John Carter Cash. Cash has performed all over the world, including shows for the troops during the Vietnam War. Probably best known for his prison concerts was at the 1969 concert at San Quentin that Cash first performed his now classic song. Maybe we ought to cue that one up. A Boy Named Sue. Cash had only learned that song the night before. The recording became a #1 hit on the pop charts and topped the country music charts for 20 weeks. 1969, a banner year for Cash. He received gold records for his albums Johnny Cash at Folsom Prison, at San Quentin, as well as for the single, A Boy Named Sue. Here live from him at San Quentin. Entertainer of the Year, Male Vocalist of the Year, Best Group with his wife June, and Best Single for that song right there, A Boy Named Sue, and Best Album, Johnny Cash at San Quentin. Triple Doppler forecast from TV3 TV3 forecaster Eileen McShay. Summer meteorologists, summer forecasters. Tonight, some showers, thunderstorms, mid-60s. Tomorrow, more of the same, mid-70s. Currently 74 degrees in Cleveland, 74. And, of course, tomorrow, we find out about winning that $1 million. Listen to Wills and Coleman in the morning, would you? Get all that information on listening for your cue to call and all that sort of thing. Call now on the contest line, 578-1111. Giving away some 4-packs of tickets to Dave and Ed's Super Auto event at the Canfield Fairgrounds, September 19th, 20th, 21st. Gave them away before, I don't know, been a few months, maybe it was last year, whenever they had the event the last time. And I guess from the folks that went, they said it was a huge affair, a giant affair. So the contest line, 578-1111, 1111. Just be the 11th and 12th callers right now. Get a couple of 4-packs of tickets to Dave and Ed's Super Auto event at the Canfield Fairgrounds. That's September 19th, 20th, and 21st. Doug, you're on the air.
Yeah, hi, Gilly. I just want to say that from one American to another, I'm really enjoying the entertainment this evening.
Well, you know, it's not me that's being entertaining, and that's just fine. For tonight, Johnny Cash is the entertainment, and he will be missed.
Well, thanks for plugging us in. He's one of my favorites. I'm, right in your age bracket there, and I grew up listening to him, the old vinyl, and it's just nice hearing it after all these many years that have gone by. I haven't heard none of these songs probably forever.
Well, just keep it tuned right here, and you'll probably like what you hear.
Thank you, Gilly. You have a wonderful evening. Always enjoy the show.
All right, thank you, and you have a good night, too. Yeah, I thought it was necessary. I'm a big fan, and I thought it would be nice to have a celebration of the life and music of Johnny Cash. On that program, from the complete directory of primetime network and cable TV shows, the Johnny Cash Show musical variety, to date one of the major attempts to bridge the gap between country music and mass audiences, was made by Johnny Cash in 1969 to 71. Unlike such earlier efforts as Ozark Jubilee, strictly for the Sticks, and the Jimmy Dean Show, more pop than country, the Johnny Cash Show was true to its roots, yet packaged in a manner acceptable to most urban viewers. Part of its success lay with Cash himself, one of the few true superstars of both country and popular music, and a dramatic figure in his Lincoln-esque man in black outfit. His craggy featured authenticity, honed in real-life hardship, made him believable in such segments as Ride This Train. Backing him were the members of the regular roadshow, the Carter Family, one of the legendary groups in country music history, the Statler Brothers, Carl Blue Suede Shoes Perkins, and the Tennessee Three. Guest stars included first-rate talent from almost every musical genre, ranging from Louis Armstrong to Arlo Guthrie, Jose Feliciano, Glenn Campbell, Rod McEwen, Pete Seeger, Linda Ronstadt, Merle Haggard, James Taylor, and Minnie Pearl. One of the highlights of the 69 to 71 series was a two-part telecast in January of 1971, tracing the country music story. Practically everybody who was anybody in country music appeared in this musical documentary, including film clips of stars of the past, as the original Jimmy Rogers, Hank Williams, and Jim Reeves, and live performances by others ranging from the generations from Roy Acuff to Tammy Wynette. In 1976, Johnny returned with a 4-week summer series like the 69 to 71 program originating from Nashville. This time, guest stars were almost exclusively from the country field. And looking at some of the regulars in the 76 series, included June Carter Cash, Howard Mann, the Bill Walker Orchestra, and a couple of names I think you might recognize. Steve Martin and Jim Varney. Remember Jim Varney from Ernest Goes to Camp and all those others. Bill, you're on the air.
Yeah, Gilly.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you left out when he played with Chris Christopherson, Waylon, and Willie with the Highwaymen.
Well, I haven't gotten there.
There's one song in particular, the theme song for the Highwaymen, where he flies a starship across the universe divide, and that's where he's riding right now, and he's up there with Waylon playing music right now.
Yep, no doubt he is. Yeah, I hadn't gotten there yet. We're getting there. We got all evening. We'll take you up to the Drudge Report at midnight here on the big one. More of your phone calls, more of the program, more of the celebration of the life and music of Johnny Cash. I'm Rick Gilmour, the thinking man's friend, and this is Cleveland's only news radio, WTAM 1100.
The following material may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Yes, Cliff Bakley, you are correct. I was just outside, and it's starting to sprinkle. Got some rain coming down. Tonight, celebrating the life and music of Johnny Cash. Passed away from complications of diabetes at the age of 71. Quite frankly, I think after his wife died, he just gave up. And that's what I think.
The Rick Gilmour Show on News Radio WTAM 1100.
578-1100 and the classic 216 area code, the phone number if you'd like to share any reflections or maybe even have a request. Let's see what we can do to accommodate you. Toll free, 888-723-WTAM. And the life and music of John Cash. I got a story emailed to me at gilly@WTAM.com. This from local band Lonesome Bones. It says, in June of 1965, Johnny Cash accidentally started a forest fire in California's Los Padres National Forest. The fire started when the defective exhaust system on John's camper ignited some dry brush, eventually burning 508 acres. The federal government sued him and was awarded $125,127. John settled the case and paid $82,000. Well, there's an interesting story from the life and times of Johnny Cash that I didn't find in any biography, but still interesting. In the late 60s, John Cash was asked to perform at the White House. The Nixons, especially First Lady Pat, were big fans. So much so that Mrs. Nixon asked Cash to be one of the first performers to appear at a new event titled An Evening at the White House. Upon meeting Nixon, Cash took the opportunity to discuss his views on prison reform. He later testified on the subject before a Senate subcommittee. He spent the a whole day, I guess, attending the Watergate hearings. He was at the invitation of James Neal, one of the prosecutors, participated strictly as an audience member. Ironically, Cash ended up having lunch that day with two people who would turn out to be key players in the Watergate scandal, H.R. Bob Haldeman and John Ehrlichman. Johnny said they were nice guys. They talked about the country in general and really did not get too deep into Watergate. Let's give a whirl off Johnny Cash live at Folsom Prison and at San Quentin. I Walked the Line. I've heard some musical biographies in the past couple of days of Johnny Cash, and yet for some reason, no one played I Walked the Line. I thought it was one of his more famous songs. So we'll give it a whirl right now. Johnny Cash. 12 callers on the contest line at 578-1111. Win a 4-pack of passes to the advanced screening of Cold Creek Manor starring Dennis Quaid and Sharon Stone. That's Thursday, September 18th at Lowe's Richmond Town Square Theater. So blow it out, Caleb. Give away a couple, 3. Yeah, we're feeling generous tonight. Celebration of Johnny Cash, the man and his music. Don, you're on the air.
Hey, Gilly, how you doing?
All right.
I love your show. Listen to you all the time. I think that Johnny Cash's best song, Chris Christopherson wrote it, but it would be Sunday Morning Coming Down.
You think? I mean, it's hard to pick one best song from Johnny Cash, isn't it?
Oh, he's got a ton of them. He's got a ton of them.
More than 1,500 songs, found on about 500 albums.
But I think that song, my brother, we always argue about it. He thinks that it's about a drunk, and it's a Sunday, but I think it's about a man that's lonely, is what I think it's about.
Okay, well, I'll see if I got it.
I'd appreciate it.
All right. Anything?
Good work, Gilly.
All right. Appreciate it. Yep. Taking the time to check in from Seville. Mark, you're on the air.
Hey, good timing here, Gilly. For what it's worth, the gentleman that just requested Sunday Morning, coming down. Well, I think this is more than urban legend, and I think a lot of your callers could verify that. But at the time, Christopherson, he was a young songwriter. Cash was all of that. He was on his way. He was established. And he was pretty stubborn, He had his moods and everything. And Christopherson's trying to get these tapes to him because he knows that it'll work. And Cash wanted no part of it, so he tried leaving them in his car and stuff because they were apparently sharing the same neck of the woods, and Cash would throw them out the window. And Christopherson actually had to hire a helicopter and land on Cash's property, and Cash was so taken by it that he just had to give these tapes a spin, and eventually, it's one of his better hits, Sunday Morning Coming Down. And also the lady who requested the Grandfather Clock song, that would be very apropos for, because when the clock stopped, the old man died. And George Norrie, the space guy that comes on sometimes after you, he loves that song, Art Bell, and that's in his library of songs. So just wanted to share that with you and your callers.
All right, appreciate you taking the time to call. All right. Yeah, we'll see what we got. Like I say, I had quite a collection of Johnny Cash CDs that apparently are so popular that when you lend them to someone, you don't get them back. I wanted to play something that I haven't heard other than the one other time I played it since Gary D. A couple of them actually. Dirty Old Egg-Sucking Dog. So some of the stuff was just funny, just novelty stuff. Followed by Flushed from WTAM.com and vote on the cyber vote. What's your favorite Johnny Cash song? 26% of you say Ring of Fire. 21% I Walk the Line. 14% say A Boy Named Sue. 10% checked in with Folsom Prison Blues, followed by Ghost Riders in the Sky, finally ending up with Hurt. Other, well, because there are many others that you couldn't list them all if he's got 1,500 songs. Or some of you voted for none of them. I Hated Johnny Cash. That checked in with 11%. Your triple Doppler forecast from TV3's Eileen McShay tonight. Showers likely, thunderstorms possible, mid-60s. Tomorrow, more of the same, mid-70s. At least Tuesday says, well, it looks sunny with a high of 70. Currently 74 degrees in Cleveland, 74. Well, after Johnny headed over to Washington and performed for the Nixons, since then, Cash and his family had spent time visiting and performing for other presidents as well. Gerald Ford once told Johnny Cash, "We love your great music and style. We are most grateful for your friendship, which we treasure." Coincidentally, June Carter is a cousin of former President Jimmy Carter. When the Cashes visited the White House while Carter was in office, the president was lavish in his praise of Johnny. As one of today's most versatile performers, you have touched the lives of many people over the years, Carter said. You serve as an outstanding example for aspiring artists. President Reagan was equally gracious. Your musical talents are legendary, and your accomplishments span the entire spectrum of the entertainment industry, Reagan said. We also know that you're a charitable and kind-hearted man who, by sharing your most personal experiences, inspired millions to regain faith, to keep heart, and to, quote-unquote, walk the line. Rich, you're on the air.
Hey, Gilly, how you doing, Doc?
All right.
Hey, Johnny Cash he was one of us.
Yeah, that's, I think, why so many people can relate to him, because he seems like a regular guy.
Yeah, and he epitomized what we were thinking, what we were sweating, what we were doing. But I got to tell you something. When June Carter Cash passed away a number of months ago, you had mentioned on the air, wouldn't be long. And on Folsom, let me see here,
yes,
Folsom Prison in San Quentin, cut number 20, Darling Companion. That's my favorite tune.
All right, we've got, Edmund, cue that up, would you? We've got that, track 20, Darling Companion.
Gilly, you're the best there ever was, bud.
Well, appreciate the phone call.
See it.
All right, bye-bye. Yeah, I did say that as well. I said that once June was gone, I didn't think Johnny'd be far behind. She passed away in May. I didn't think it was going to be this soon. Lenny, you're on the air.
Hi, Rick. How's it going?
All right.
I was just wondering if you'd play the poem that Johnny read about the flag in the old town.
Oh, the ragged old flag. We'll get to that. Yeah, we'll get to that later.
Oh, cool.
Some of the stuff we've got, some of the stuff we don't have. Next hour, I want to showcase some of the American recordings, some of the cover stuff, some later stuff that Johnny'd done up as recently as until he was so ill he couldn't work anymore.
Right.
Like Mean-Eyed Cat and that kind of thing. I've Been Everywhere, some of that stuff. Some of my favorites, too. That a lot of people just didn't hear because a lot of it apparently didn't get much radio airplay. It's not that it wasn't great music. It's just, I guess at some point, even if you have a crossover, I guess it was really surprising when Johnny came back with that cover of Hurt that it went as far as it did because he was 70 years old.
Yeah, I thought that was strange that he would even do something like that, but I liked it.
Yeah, it was good stuff, and I wondered too. I thought, gee, did Johnny stick around just to see if he was going to win MTV Music Video of the Year award? And then when he didn't, that was the final straw. Forget it.
Gee, I hope not.
I hope not too. But I mean, you know how they say sometimes when folks are sick, they look forward to something like Christmas, and then afterwards give up. And I thought, well, that'd sure be Christmas for Johnny Cash, wouldn't it?
Sure would.
Yep. All right. Well, I'll get that ragged old flag on later. Make a note of that, Edmund. All right, Lenny?
All right. Thanks a lot.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Yeah, Darling Companion. A beautiful piece. And we've got that, and you'll listen to that and more right now. Some beautiful songs celebrating the life and music of Johnny Cash this evening. Mark, you're on the air.
Hi.
Howdy.
This is Mark.
Yes. Yes.
I just wanted to tell about how I learned about Johnny Cash. I've always been into alternative music, and you ever see the Billboard ad, the famous Billboard ad where he's giving the middle finger?
Yes.
And he talks about how he would like to thank the country music establishment for their support. It was right after he had won Album of the Year, the Grammy for Album of the Year for American recordings.
Right.
And I saw that ad, and I thought that was really funny. And I had heard that the producer of that album also produced the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And
Rick, quite possible. Rick Rubin?
Yeah, Rick Rubin.
Yeah.
Famous for the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Right.
And so I picked up the album, and I listened to it, and I absolutely fell in love with it. But I still think that his best song is Unchained, off of Unchained. It's just amazingly soulful and rich and kind of dark.
And I think that was one of the CDs that I had that somebody borrowed from me and never felt to give back.
The most amazing song. I play that album a lot, and I've listened to it a lot lately. And And Unchained is just the most amazingly rich song.
I'll see if I can find it, but like I say, I think that's one of the Unchained. I think that's one of the ones that disappeared and walked off. And, now good luck to me, right? Now I'm going to go out and try and complete my CD collection again, and they'll be flying off the shelves because they died.
Yeah, well, I'm still waiting for I heard that he's going to come out with a 5-disc set. That's a bunch of compilation of the various stuff he's done with Reuben over the years, and I think that will be really interesting to look at and see what he's done and played with. And
yeah, we have to balance these sorts of things because some folks look at what Elvis's family's doing by cashing in and still marketing songs after his death, that they're somehow doing it for the money.
Right. Yeah, but this was actually, he had planned to do this with Rick, and they were actually starting to put it together. And I read somewhere about 3 or 4 weeks ago that they were actually going to get together and put this set together. So I would think that it's not really so much just cashing in.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll look for it when it comes out, and we'll give it a whirl.
Great.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're more than welcome, Mark. Yep, more of the music, more of the biography, more of the life of Johnny Cash. After these important words and coverage of what in the world's happening, I'm Rick Gilmour, the thinking man's friend. This is Cleveland's only news radio, WTAM. Of Johnny Cash, passed away at the age of 71 from complications of diabetes. In 1996, President Clinton presented Cash with the Kennedy Center Honors Lifetime Achievement Award. And in April of 2001, President George W. Bush presented Cash with the National Medal of Arts Award. These are the 2 highest awards any entertainer can receive and reflect the enormous influence Cash has had on American music and popular culture. Cash personally loaned these treasured items to friends for use in an exhibit. Be the 11th caller right now at 578-1111. That's the contest line. I'll be caller 11 and 12. We'll give away a couple of 4-packs of tickets to Dave and Ed's Super Auto event at the Canfield Fairgrounds. That's a great big event out there. September 19th, 20th, and 21st. Just be the 11th and 12th callers, or use your discretion, good screener Caleb. If they sound particularly friendly, maybe we'll give away 3 pair. How about that? Dewey called and wanted to know if we could play Wreck of the Old 97. Sure. I also found Unchained, which Mark from Wadsworth called earlier, and I didn't think I had it. I thought it walked away, but we'll get to that one coming up here. Jeff, you're on the air.
Hi, Gilly.
Howdy.
How you doing?
All right.
I bet you a lot of people have never known that, I believe, I could be wrong, but the first person to sing with Bob Dylan on one of his albums was Johnny Cash, and it's Nashville Skyline, the first track, Girl from the North Country. And if you could find that and play it, they'd dig it.
Well, some of this stuff's hard to find, and like I say, my personal collection got kind of dwindled down from people that said, can I borrow some Johnny Cash? And I was dumb enough to say, yeah, sure, and then I forgot who they were, and they forgot to give us...
This is a Bob Dylan album.
Yeah, that we probably do not have.
But, yeah, I think it's you got to see that, like, Time Life said Bob Dylan was one of the top 50 people of the century. And the first person he had singing with him was Johnny Cash.
Well, couldn't pick anybody better than that, could you?
And Girl from the North Country, it's acoustic, and my girlfriend hates it because they both don't have pretty voices, according to her. But I think it's beautiful.
Well, so that'd be your favorite Johnny Cash song?
Well, I like him with the Highwaymen. I like a lot of Johnny Cash, but I like that song too.
All right. Well, I'll see what I can do.
Thank you.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Yeah, Cash continued to win his share of country music awards into the 1970s. Hits included songs as Singing Vietnam Talking Blues, If I Had a Hammer, that was a duet with June, Praise the Lord and Pass the Soup, Orleans Parish Prison, There Ain't No Good Chain Gang, a #1 song with Waylon Jennings and Ghost Riders, In the Sky. Greg, you're on the air.
Hello, Mr. Gilly. How are you?
I'm fine, Greg.
This is Greg, originally from Houston.
Oh, yes.
I'd like to make just a brief, and I will try to give a brief comment about my feelings for Mr. Cash and what he means to me at this time in my life.
All right.
Okay. All right. I don't particularly listen to that type of music. I listen to, very hard rock and roll. And there's a group called Korn, and they perform a song that, I really liked. Well, to my surprise, I found out that Mr. Cash was the guy who wrote this song.
What was the name of it?
I can't really recall it at this time. I'm still trying to digest all of this. And I had the opportunity to hear his performance of it.
You're breaking up there, Tiger. But if you can call back in a better cell and tell good screener Caleb what the name of that Korn song is, there's a possibility we might have that. That's quite possible. We have a large library. I have a library of my own. And like I say, someone called and requested they wanted to hear Unchained, and they were normally an alternative music fan. They didn't really know much about Johnny Cash. Well, here it is. The man and his music. Proving his everlasting popularity, Cash continued to record into the 80s and beyond. In addition to his own records, Cash has appeared as a guest artist on albums by friends such as Emmylou Harris, Marty Stewart, and the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. More of the program after these important words on the big one.
The greatest minds in Cleveland sports converge on Champs in Valley View. WTAM 1100 presents Cleveland's 2003 NFL Roundtable. Mike Trevisano, Casey Coleman, Kevin Keene, David Kelly, in a 2-hour Browns love fest and a 2-hour NFL Roundtable. Brought to you by Champs Restaurant and Bar, with locations in Valley View and Lyndhurst. Monday, September 22nd, Cleveland's 2003 NFL Roundtable. The AM home of the Browns. News Radio WTAM 1100.
If you're losing your hair and haven't tried Avacor yet, how about a free month supply? That's right. We're giving away a free month of Avacor with all of today's orders. You've heard all about Avacor on radio and TV for years. That's because Avacor is proven to successfully stop hair loss and regrow hair. Avacor has helped people just like you regain their youthful appearance with new healthy hair. So why haven't you called? We want you to try Avacor. We know that once your hair stops falling out and starts to regrow, you'll be glad you did. Still not convinced? Avacor comes with up to a full 1-year money-back guarantee. Try getting that anywhere else. Call 800-700-1678 for your risk-free trial of Avacor. Call now. 800-700-1678. That's 800-700-1678. And remember, all of today's orders will receive an additional month's supply of Avacor absolutely free. Call 800-700-1678.
Somewhere on this radio station, out in the ether, there's someone looking for you.
You're right.
Don't be so negative. There is someone just for you.
Me?
Yes, you.
Really?
Yes.
Really and truly?
Now you're getting on my nerves. There is someone listening to the same radio station who'd love to meet you, like the person in the car next to you.
Ooh, he's cute.
As a button. Well, you'll find you'll find him on Cupid.com.
Cupid.com?
What is it with you repeating things? At Cupid.com, you can browse thousands of people in your area who are also looking for someone just like you.
Me?
We're going to start this again.
Sorry.
Cupid.com. Registration is free, and no one knows who you are until you want them to know who you are.
Sounds too good to be true.
Well, it's true. Now, I have 150,000 other men and women to talk to today, so goodbye, and that's a nice skirt you're wearing.
Thanks. Wait, you tell that to everyone.
I skipped that part for the men. Bye, and remember.
Don't be stupid. Go to Cupid.com, that is.
I hope the next one's a little brighter.
To meet someone now from the Cleveland area, go online to Cupid.com. That's www.Cupid.com.
Tornado, flash flood, dangerous lightning, deadly storm season. Your official weather station. WTAM 1100.
This is a celebration of Johnny Cash, the man and his music, the man in black. He passed away. Did you notice that? It went from minute number 9 to number 8 to number 7 to number 5 and then back to 7. What happened to minute number 6? Triple Doppler forecast from TV3's Eileen McShay. Tonight, thunderstorms, mid-60s. Tomorrow, more of the same, mid-70s. Currently 74 degrees in Cleveland, 74. Be the 11th caller right now at 578-1111 in the classic 216 area code and win a 4-pack of passes to an advanced screening of Cold Creek Manor, starring Dennis Quaid and Sharon Stone. That's Thursday, September 18th at Lowe's Richmond Town Square Theater. Tomorrow morning on the big one, Best Browns coverage with Doug Deacon, Kevin Johnson, and Kelly Holcomb, plus all the news, Sky Chief traffic, Channel 3 weather, and 2020 sports to start off your day. Wake up informed, would you? Don't be a dum-dum. Listen to Wills and Coleman in the morning, weekdays 5 until 9 here on News Radio, WTAM 1100. We should possibly check that cyber vote again just to see if it's been updated throughout the program to see if it's changed any. At the beginning of the program, the question at WTAM.com's Cyber Vote, what is your favorite Johnny Cash song? Ring of Fire leading with 26%, followed by I Walk the Line. Boy Named Sue had 14%. Folsom Prison Blues, 10%. Ghost Riders in the Sky, 8%. Hurt, 6%. Other, 3%. Or No, I Hate Johnny Cash, 11%. Well. I don't know how you could hate Johnny Cash. Certainly a talented man. Perhaps you just dislike country music. Well, then perhaps you should check out some of the American recordings, 1, 2, 3, and The Man Comes Around. And that way he does covers of newer stuff. This hour we're playing mostly some of the older stuff. Threw in Unchained there off of the American recording CD of the same name. Now, apparently you just can't list all the Johnny Cash songs, or you'd be there all day trying to pick one. I don't know as if I have a particular favorite, although Cocaine Blues is right up there. Orange Blossom Special's not bad. Folsom Prison Blues ain't bad. I can't think of too many awfully bad ones. Another substance abuse setback in 1984. Cash entered the Betty Ford Center to resume his battle with painkillers. That time he beat the addiction for good. By 1985, Cash was back recording again and made one of the famed Highwaymen albums with friends Waylon Jennings, Chris Christopherson, and Willie Nelson. He continued to have an impact on artists of all musical genres. In the early 90s, he performed the lead vocals on a track for the U2 song, The Wanderer. It was written especially for Cash by U2 lead singer Bono, and it is featured as a track on their Zooropa album. In 1994, that was when Cash released those American recordings. And despite the limited play on the radio, the album reached number 23 on the Billboard charts. It was his 129th album. By the mid-90s, it was estimated that Cash had recorded some 1,500 songs and sold more than 50 million albums. His 1998 album, Unchained, earned him another Grammy and was voted Best Country Album of the Year. Jim, you're on the air.
Hey, how you doing, Rick?
All right.
Hey, you're sitting talking about asking what happened in the minute number 6?
Yeah.
What the hell does it matter? Because we lost a country legend.
I know.
I met this gentleman when I was 9 years old at the Cathedral tomorrow. He wanted a movie called Gospel Road.
Yeah, I'm getting to the movie credits. They're coming up in the the bio.
Don't worry about when it's a song. Why didn't you play some of his good classics? Like Luther played the Boogie Woogie and stuff like that, and One Piece at a Time, right on through the line. Because this gentleman here, he is a living legend.
He absolutely.
He don't need to be criticized.
Oh, I wasn't criticizing him, sir. You obviously did not listen to the entire program. Do you think that I would be doing a program about Johnny Cash after he passed away to be critical of him? I'm a big fan. Jim. Don't you worry about it. Someone called earlier and wanted to know if I could play a Wreck of the Old 97 for him. Well, absolutely. So here 'tis. Enjoy. Johnny one, he will be sorely missed. So I thought it would be fitting to put together a tribute. What do we got left? We got a little of both, a little of this, a little of that. Be the 11th and 12th callers right now and get a 4-pack of tickets to Dave and Ed's Super Auto event at the Canfield Fairgrounds, September 19th, 20th, 21st. Someone told me the last time I gave away tickets for that. They said it was just a huge event. Cars everywhere, motorcycles, cars, parts. Fun, till Daddy took the T-Bird away. While most people know Johnny Cash as an accomplished singer-songwriter, many do not realize he was also an accomplished actor, starred and co-starred in several theatrical and television productions, including the 1971 Western film A Gunfight opposite Kirk Douglas, and a 1974 episode of Columbo in which he matched wits with Peter Falk. Cash also co-starred with friend Chris Christopherson in a TV movie about Frank and Jesse James. In a 1981 television film titled The Pride of Jesse Hallam, Cash received rave reviews, for his portrayal of a proud but illiterate man who eventually seeks help and learns how to read. The film is still used today by many groups as a teaching tool to help combat illiteracy. A quiet but deeply religious man, Cash traveled to Israel and produced a film titled Gospel Road. He also appeared on many programs in association with Billy Graham Ministries. His faith was reflected in his many gospel and hymnal recordings throughout his long career, including A Believer Sings the Truth, The Holy Land, Hymns for the Heart, and Johnny Cash, The Spoken Word New Testament. Cash was also an accomplished author. His 1975 autobiography, appropriately titled The Man in Black, has sold more than 1.5 million copies. And he worked close to near his death. This tribute was written in January of 2003. It says several years ago it was reported that Cash was suffering from a life-threatening neurological disorder. Thankfully, that diagnosis proved false. However, a recent report in the LA Times stated that Cash had asthma and glaucoma and was hospitalized several times with pneumonia. Despite his health limitations, his creativity and ability to strike a chord with audiences was still going strong as of January 2003. His last 2 albums earned him Grammys, bringing the total to 11. His latest album, When the Man Comes Around, debuted in record stores last November 5th. Cash, larger than life, someone to admire and look up to, was definitely one of the good guys. Zod, you're on the air.
Hello, Rick.
Hello. Can you speak up, please? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes. Can you speak in a normal voice?
Rick, John Ritter died a few days ago, and so did
Johnny Cash.
Johnny Crash, whatever his name is.
Well, hanging up on you. I think the point was that he said that celebrities go in threes, and I believe he forgot about last week's passing of Warren Zevon. But perhaps there's already been 3. I want to play for you now one of my favorite songs by Johnny Cash called Cocaine Blues, from Johnny Cash at Folsom Prison in San Quentin. And it's a good song. It's about drugs, but it's still a good song. It's telling you not to do cocaine. Ring of Fire leads with 27%. I Walk the Line, 19%. Boy Named Sue, 15%, followed by Folsom Prison Blues. Ghost Riders in the Sky, Hurt, which we will play at the end of the program, because I do not want to have to talk after it, because if you've seen the video, it was extremely depressing even when Mr. Cash was still living, and that's even more so now. And 12% of you say, none of them, I hated Johnny Cash. Well, Johnny Cash has recorded more than 1,500 songs, can be found on 500 albums. More of his albums, 45 of them, remain in print today than most artists ever make. The youngest person ever chosen for the Country Music Hall of Fame, and the only person ever selected for the Country and Rock Music Hall of Fame until 1998, when Elvis Presley was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. He's placed 48 singles on the Billboard Hot 100 pop charts, about the same as the Rolling Stones and the Beach Boys. He's tallied more pop hits than Barbra Streisand, Michael Jackson, including his Jackson 5 hits, more than the Four Seasons, David Bowie, the Supremes, Elton John, Billy Joel, Kenny Rogers, the combined totals of Art Garfunkel, Paul Simon, and Simon and Garfunkel, Marvin Gaye, B.B. King, Roy Orbison, Kool and the Gang, Linda Ronstadt, Diana Ross, the combined total of all the Osmond family, Jerry Lee Lewis, and the combined total of Lionel Richie and the Commodores. He's won 11 Grammys, 1999 Lifetime Achievement Award, 2002. Shared Grammy for Best Country Album. 2 of his Grammys came for writing liner notes for his At Folsom Prison album and Bob Dylan's Nashville Skyline record. Yep, an accomplished guy. Another one of my favorites, Orange Blossom Special. That track 6 off Johnny Cash at Folsom Prison and San Quentin. And I don't know. I've played this in bars before when I worked, and some people found it annoying. Well, I didn't care. Triple Doppler forecast from TV3's Eileen McShay tonight. Thunderstorms likely, mid-60s looking up on the radar. There is green moving through the area, and I was outside earlier. It's sprinkling. Tomorrow, more rain, mid-70s. Currently 70 degrees in Cleveland. And tomorrow morning, listen to the big one, obviously. You want to listen to Wills and Coleman in the morning. Don't be a big dum-dum. Bill Wills is going to tell you how you can get a chance to win $1 million in Vegas. How about that? Hey. Hey, lots of stuff I want to play. You want to call, too. Jim, you're on the air.
Hello, Rick. How are you?
Howdy.
Hey, one quick thing. I was wondering if you, I don't know if you had it in your repertoire for tonight, but about How High is the Water, Mama?
I don't have it.
You don't have it? Okay. Other thing is I'm a musician, was playing out this evening at this bar out in Fairport, and we did a couple Johnny Cash tunes that went over quite well. Great man, very underrated, I think, in many respects. But it's kind of cool that you're doing this thing tonight. I appreciate it.
Well, I thought he was a true crossover. Here's a country guy that also had many rock fans. Anyone that was a fan of music could find something that Johnny Cash did that they'd enjoy.
Oh, my gosh, and the way with the kids, I mean, in the past 5 years here, the way he had his resurgence, that blew me away. I couldn't believe it.
Well, he covered Beck's Rowboat. I got that coming up, too.
I didn't know that.
Oh, he's on the American Recordings. He covered a lot of other people's stuff. And, of course, I'm going to end the program with a Nine Inch Nails cover that he did called Hurt.
That was frightening.
Oh.
That was frightening. It was awesome, but frightening.
Yes.
My gosh.
And the images were disturbing in that video.
I know, it was worse than the Nine Inch Nails stuff.
Yes, and it was especially, and it's especially sad now. I don't even want to watch it.
I know, it's rather depressing. But the guy, I mean, he was creating up until the end, and I just think it's great you're doing this thing tonight. Pretty cool.
Appreciate it.
All right, take care.
All right, you too. Yeah, there's something else I want to play coming up after a couple of calls as well. It's something that I have not heard anyone that played a collection of Johnny Cash songs ever play Starkville City Jail. No, I've got it. I don't know why no one else decided it was fit to be played or not fit to be played. Tabletop Joe. Is that your name?
Yes, it is.
You're on the air.
All right.
Go right ahead, please, sir.
Yeah, Gilly.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Tabletop Joe from Lakewood.
That's what I just said.
I just want to say I'm like 60 years old. I've been a fan of the Man in Black. He stood for the epitome of America. He saw it through wars. He helped everybody out. And now with all this grunge music, everybody puts him down. But I'll tell you, he was a true American, and that's all I got to say.
All right. Sounded like maybe Tabletop Joe had a 12-pack sitting on it. Just a guess. Patrick, talk to me.
Hey, Gilly.
Hey.
I don't know if anybody called in yet to request Man in Black. You've been calling them that all night, but it's a great song.
Yeah, we've got it. We'll get to it.
All right. It kind of ties together what your last couple weeks of shows have been about, too.
You want to tell me what my shows have been about?
I think they've been about standing up for the little man, freedom of speech.
Yeah.
Saying things that maybe are unpopular.
Right.
And a lot of that stuff is in that song, I think.
Yeah, well, and there's a lot of stuff that Johnny's done that wasn't exactly all that popular. I mean, it was popular with the prison population, but I don't think that makes it PC. And I don't think Johnny Cash ever worried about being PC. Do you?
That is true. I've been watching some biographies of him over the last couple of days. I didn't even realize how much, but you are absolutely correct.
Yep. Yeah, he was a different kind of guy. I mean, I latched onto him, like I said earlier. That was the second album I ever bought was Johnny Cash at San Quentin. And it's probably still somewhere. I mean, it's probably I take that back. I probably played it so much that it was shot. I just for some reason I was a little kid when I bought that record, and I just fell in love with it immediately. I thought he had a certain style. Plus, I was fascinated by the beeps that they put in there because it was like, oh, he obviously said something naughty.
Exactly. Well, my grandmother enjoyed it and got me listening to it when I was about 3, and I still listen to it. And he crossed a lot of generational lines. And as you guys mentioned tonight, he's continued to do so right up until the last couple of weeks.
Absolutely. You ready to hear Starkville City Jail?
Absolutely.
All right. Good talking to you.
All right.
Yeah, this one no one plays. Why? I don't know. I'm certain the biographies are not over. I'm certain that there are other stations doing this sort of thing. I would hope. That's why I did it. Because I thought, well, geez, somebody needs to do it. And wanted to hear the Man in Black? Well, here it is. The Man in Black. Johnny Cash, the man and his music. And more of the program after important words and coverage of what in the world's happening. I'm Rick Gilmour, the thinking man's friend, and this is Cleveland's only news radio.